Alright, let's record a video. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Follow Your Impulses. I'm your host, Logan Troop. I've never done that before, and I probably never will. I did not enjoy that. Anyways, the reason for today's episode, I was talking to a friend not too long ago, today, like half an hour ago, and we were talking about our dreams and our future and everything. I got some water with me, because, talking a lot gets you parched. Anyways, so we were talking about our dreams, and we were talking about the future and what we want to do and everything, and I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do for my future. I would love to be an entertainer and be a content creator and whatnot. And, he was talking about what he wanted to do and how his parents haven't always, supported his big dreams and ambitions that he might have. And I think that happens a lot with people in our generation when approaching our parents with our thoughts and ideals and what we want to accomplish in the future. Our parent, and, we may say, some of us go up to our parents and we say, hey, this is what I want to do. And then they may be like, oh, that's not realistic. Frankly, none of our ideas are realistic until we make them happen, because they haven't happened yet. A lot of us have ambitions and dreams, so why can't you support us, Why can't you just say, hey, that sounds like a great idea. Are you willing to put the work in? That's what you should be saying, instead of saying that's unrealistic, you can't accomplish that. Because that is the biggest... that's just the biggest deterrent that you can give us. Somebody that raised us and loved us since birth is telling us that we can't do something is very frustrating. And I hate hearing it, I don't like hearing from my mother that my ideas are unrealistic. Thankfully, my mother has never said that to me. Sometimes it may seem that she's not 100% supportive, and that's okay. At least she's giving me my support that I want from my mom or my dad, And I think that a lot of reasons why parents don't exactly like the idea of having very large ambitions and, personal dreams that they want to accomplish is because they grew up in a time where they didn't have that luxury, Their parents, our grandparents, grew up in a time where they didn't have the luxury of being what they wanted to be. They were coming out of the Great Depression, and money, food, everything was tight. And they didn't have the luxury of saying, oh, I want to be an actor, or I want to be an author, or anything like that, because they had this risk of, I'm not going to be able to accomplish this because there's no money. I need to get a steady job. And that's carried on through generations. And then our generation realizes that we have this huge opportunity to do whatever we want. And parents don't really realize that this is something that we can do. And I think it's awesome that we have the ability to do whatever we want, I have the ability, because of, the efforts of our ancestors and those that have come before us, we have this opportunity to do what we want. 10 years ago, it was unheard of to become a content creator through Spotify. Spotify wasn't even around 10 years ago, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I should look into that. YouTube wasn't as big as it was now. And, being a content creator on YouTube was unheard of. But now, you hear all the time about people saying, oh, thank you so much for this opportunity to be a full-time content creator and all these things. And it's becoming a legitimate market. And that's kind of unheard of to parents. Parents they have this need to understand. They need to be able to understand everything. There needs to be a reason for everything. Like, if I show my mom a meme from Instagram that is targeted towards the audience of my age group, 19, 18 to 20 years old, around that, she'll just be like, I don't get it. And I'm like, Mom, there's nothing to get. It's just funny. And I guess that our sense of humor doesn't really line up with the older generation sense of humor. And I think that a lot of things that we see and believe and like don't line up with a lot of the things that the older generation doesn't see, believe, or like. And I think that's why another thing about with dreams is that a lot of people didn't really, like, I'm sure they had dreams, but I'm sure they just felt like they didn't have the opportunity or the ability to pursue those, because times were tough. And now they think that, so recently I was watching a documentary on YouTube. It's about NBA coaches. I really like basketball, and I'm really hoping that I get the opportunity to talk about basketball in the future on this podcast or on the YouTube channel, or both, you know. But it was about Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers coached, he was a player, he played for teams like the Atlanta Hawks. That's the one I know for sure. I'm pretty sure he played for the Celtics. But he also coached for the Celtics, and he coached for the Clippers, and most recently he got hired as the 76ers coach. But as a kid, his teacher asked, like when he was in elementary school, he's like, all right, write up on the board what you want to be. He said, okay. So he wrote up, I want to be an NBA player. And she said, that's not realistic enough. Write a new one. And he said, okay. And he put up, I want to be an NBA player. And so he brought it up with his dad, and he's like, all right, Dad. You know, his son's like, just write something different. He's like, I don't want to. So he wrote up, he said, I want to be an NBA player. And his dad was like, you're right, but you need to know what you're getting into. You need to put in the work. You need to have that hunger, that, you need to know what you want, and you have to go out and get what you want. You know, you can't just say these things and then sit idly by and wait for it to happen. And, look at Glenn Doc Rivers now. The man has a championship. He's won a championship with the Celtics in 2008. He was a very, very good role player for the Sixers. He was just a very talented player on the court, as a coach, as a player, all of the above. Very good basketball mind. And he did that because he had the drive, and he had the motivation and the work ethic to get what he wanted. And I think that's something very important that we all need to learn if we want to be able to go and follow and pursue our dreams. Is that if we want to do this thing, we can't just say it. We have to do. I have a friend that says this all the time, but faith without works is dead. That's not just religious. That's, in real life too. You can believe all you want that you're going to be successful, but you're not going to be successful until you start working for it. So yes, by all means, go out and follow your dreams, but you're not going to be successful in following your dreams unless you really work for it. You're looking at where your audience is reaching, and you reach out through your audience and you say, look, how can I entertain these people? How can I grow? And you're constantly learning through that. There's so much more than just putting out content. There's so much more than just, putting work on the basketball court. There's more than just shooting 3-pointers. You have to learn how to take it inside. You have to learn how to use your left hand, play defense. You have to hit the weight room, get stronger, work on your conditioning. There's so much that goes into being good at what you want to do. There's so much that goes into doing what you want. Photography, you need to learn about shutter speed, field of view, Photoshop and editing and all that. And that doesn't come by just sitting and hoping and wanting. There's wanting and then there's doing. And I hope that this generation that we have that is so filled with ambition and this need to become something bigger and become what they want to be, I hope they realize that there is so much hard work that comes in with that. A big inspiration of not just the sports world, but everybody, is Kobe Bryant. May he rest in peace. You may have hated him when he was a Laker because he always beat your team or whatever, and especially being a Celtics fan, he beat us a couple of times in the finals. It wasn't too great, but he was a great player, and just as much as he was a good player off the court, he was a great player, or on the court, he was a great player off the court. He was very inspirational, loved his family, which I can respect, and I hope that I'll be able to have a family like that so I can love them as much as he loved his family. He was always talking about, the one thing he was known for was his nickname, the Black Mamba. The Mamba mentality, that was his big thing. His work ethic was unmatched. That man injured his right hand, and he was seen in the gym. There's a picture of him, you can look this up, in the gym, in his PJs, shooting shots with his left hand. That's how legendary he was. There are so many more stories like that. But he's always talking about how this Mamba mentality is more than just, exercising and becoming better at basketball. It applies to all aspects of life. If you have the work ethic to do what you want, you can accomplish anything. If you want to wake up at 4:00 in the morning, drink some coffee or tea, and start writing scripts for a movie or a book or whatever, go for it. I respect that. If you want to, if you want to learn how to hold your breath for 40 minutes, okay, I'm not stopping you. I might say, hey, that's a little dangerous, but you do you, boo. I don't care. As long as you're being safe and you're not just going straight for the 40 minutes. There's so many learning aspects. Like, when I have kids, I want to teach them about sports. I want them to grow up in sports. And no, I would love it if they, did sports so I could come to their games and watch them and be the really obnoxious dad that cheers them on from the stands and embarrasses them, but only because I'm incredibly proud of them for trying something. But I want them to learn through sports. There's somebody that I'm hoping to get on the podcast, and I hope he hears this, but his name's Coach Curt Hines, good family friend of ours, and he's always sharing inspiration through sports and through football. He's a football coach and he's a teacher, and he's just a great inspiration, and I love hearing from him on his Twitter, Instagram, and stuff like that, and even TikTok. The man's killing it on TikTok, I tell you. Man's funny. But yeah, he's always there's so much to learn from sports, not just the man put what's that famous Vine where he's like, the man takes it to the hole and boom goes the dynamite.
He gets the rebound, passes it to the man, shoots it, and boom goes the dynamite.
That thing, yeah, it's not just that. There's so much that goes into sports. And there's so much to learn from it. My favorite sports movie of all time, this is Rocky, all the saga. Like the last two in the saga, the one where he teaches that one guy from Alabama or Oklahoma, that one's a little weird. And the one where he comes back to when he's 50 and he fights that guy and he goes the distance or whatever, a little weird, but there was one really motivational moment in there that I really appreciate. But anyways, Rocky, if you don't know, is about Rocky Marciano, I believe is his name. Rocky Balboa. Well, it's based on Rocky Marciano from Philadelphia, but it's about Rocky Balboa from Philadelphia. Sylvester Stallone plays him. This is his big hit. This is his big break. Plays a boxer who's not the most talented, but he doesn't get by being the most talented. He gets by being the toughest. The man went the distance with Apollo Creed twice. Apollo Creed was the best boxer in all of history in the saga, and he beat him twice. And they became lifelong friends. But there's so much to learn about Rocky. He talks about, in the last movie, before we move on to the Creed series, he talks to his son, and he says, you keep getting pushed around by these people, telling them that you're no good. He's talking about how the world's a mean and cruel place, and it will beat you until, and it's not about whether you get beat. It's not about, he said, because I'm mixing up my words here. It's hard to speak because it's 11 o'clock at night. It's actually 12:01. But he's saying no one's going to hit as hard as life. And he's saying, if you know what you're worth, then go out and get what you're worth. And that's kind of the whole point of this episode is, if you know that you can do this, then go out and get it. All right? If you want to tell me that you want to become a world famous actor, or if you want to come up to me and say, hey, I'm going to make the big leagues, I'm going to be in the NFL, I'm going to say, great, do it. I'm not going to, I'm not going to celebrate with you. I'm not going to celebrate with you until you make it. All right? Because first off, I know you can do it. As long as you put in the work, I believe you. But you have to make sure that you know that you want that. You have to make sure that you know that there's a lot of hard work that comes after you say, I want to do this. All right? If you have problems with your parents going up to you and saying, that's not a realistic goal, tell them that you know that it's not realistic. But that's what makes it fun. All right? Safety and fun do not always go together. All right? No one had fun sitting around on their hands staring at a wall. Unless you're into that sort of stuff and you have a very overactive imagination, go for it. Okay, I'm not stopping you. But the majority of the people watching this do not find that fun. So, that being said, be willing to take risks in this world because you're going to have fun doing it, you know? And make sure you tell your parents, hey, I know that this isn't a realistic goal, but why is that stopping me? You know, people climb Mount Everest. Some of them don't make it. But the people that do, they made it, right? But we're not looking to climb Mount Everest. What we're looking to do is accomplish a dream that we have. You know, starting a business is not easy, especially a successful one. And you want to tell me that that's more ridiculous than wanting to become an actor? Or less ridiculous? They're both tough, but if you put the work in and you're good at it, boom goes the dynamite. You got it, babe. You're there. Don't settle for mediocrity. You know, if you want something, go out and get it. Simple as that. Obviously, it's easier said than done. But if you really care about what it is, nothing is stopping you from accomplishing this goal except for yourself. So go out and get what you're worth. You got this. I believe in you. Everyone at some point in their life is going to have an unrealistic goal. And for some of us, it happens early. When I was a kid, I wanted to be DH for the Red Sox. I still don't hate that idea. I thought I was going to play with David Ortiz, but he's retired now. So most I can do is be a DH for the Red Sox. Some kids want to be astronauts. Some kids want to be snowboarders. Some kids want to be the next Mariano Rivera or the next LeBron James. First off, you can't tell me that those athletes that came from nothing stopped because someone said their goal is unrealistic. First off, some people have made it from harder situations than you. All right, so why are you going to let someone say, oh, that's unrealistic? First off, like I said in the last episode, Jimmy Butler was homeless, and he made it to the finals. And you want to tell me that you becoming a published author is unrealistic? Don't even get me started. I look around in this generation and I see so much potential. And I don't want to see it wasted. Because here's the deal. We have unlimited potential as human beings. So get up and do it. Just do it like Nike, like that one song. Rolex by Ayo and Teo. Is that what it's called? I don't know, but you know, just do it like Nike. No, is that Hit the Quan? That's Hit the Quan. It's Hit the Quan. I'm gonna wrap this episode up because I gotta edit this, and it's 12:06. We talked about. I think this is a fun episode. I like this. I don't know how often I'm gonna make videos at 12 o'clock at night. Probably pretty often if my brain keeps working like this, but we'll see. Don't forget that you have so much potential. I will, to the day I die, I will tell people how amazing they are and how much potential every person has, as long as you're willing to go out and get it. All right? If you want to tell me that it's too hard, then you need to try harder, buddy. Just because things are hard doesn't mean you should stop. Because here's the deal. Life is hard. There's going to be hard things in life. Sometimes you're not going to have enough money. Sometimes you're going to go through a breakup. Sometimes you're going to yell at your siblings or your friends or your parents or your grandparents. I hope you don't yell at your grandparents. They've gone through too much for you to yell at them. Just remember that even though there's even though there's bad in this world, there's just as much good, if not more. So yeah, follow your dreams because there's nothing stopping you. I mean, a couple naysayers may be like, that's unrealistic. Bull crap. Everything's unrealistic until you accomplish it. I love you. I hope you have a wonderful day or night whenever you're listening to this. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you do, please share and like the podcast and the YouTube channel we're trying to grow here. I appreciate it. All right. Everybody, make sure you're out there following your dreams and following your impulses. Have a wonderful day. Adios. Love y'all.